Welcome to At the Table.
where we are connecting entrepreneurs, discovering missions, and building communities with purpose, body, soul, mind, and business with
Charlie
and Heather.
with Women in Leadership.
Hi, welcome back to the table. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Heather.
And together we help women in business be empowered in many different ways. And one of those ways is we love having conversations with women in business, women running a business, women who are in the community doing their thing. And we just love hearing their stories and bringing them to you.
Leaders in our community, like this lovely guest we have with us today, brand new to the table. So we're excited to have our lovely friend,
Donita Wheeler. Donita,
Hello.
can you take a couple of minutes and introduce yourself, what you do, and a little bit about who you are?
Okay, I'm Donita Wheeler, and I am a pattern sculptor, an intuitive pattern reader, a discovering patterns person. When I was about 1.5, I put together a puzzle in a ridiculous amount of time, like a really hard puzzle, in like 1.5 minutes. And my mom was like, whoa, she's a genius. I'm like, no, Mom, I recognize patterns. So, I just went through and I can see how things are put together. And it's just like, I assumed everyone could do that. I didn't realize that that was not a skill that everybody had. So I didn't realize that I could do anything with that until 2 years ago. So I have a background in teaching, and I had a company called, I have had a lot of different jobs. I have cleaned houses. I have watched other children. I got to stay at home for 25 years. So that was, when I had multiple selling things, like longer burger baskets and some fast friends, a kids line, and just other things. I've always been, it's that patterns thing. I love clothes. I love decorating. I worked for Decorating Den for a little while. I used to do just like crazy amounts of stuff, just to be able to stay home and feel like a good woman. Like I was not stuck in 1950s. Like I was able to be home, be at the PTA stuff, be at the classroom, and do a little thing on the side. Now, probably at the end of the day, ended up costing us a lot more than it made us. But, I was trying. So it was a weird line. It was 1990, and it was a weird time to not have a job, actually. I took a lot of comments about that. So I've always been trying to figure it out. Therapy, I did lots of just different things here and there. So when I had cancer a couple of times, and I realized that that is a journey that it's best shared. So for a couple of reasons, some people can figure out, this happened to me too. Oh, I'm glad to know that, or just that they have support. So my company was called Donita Mama Bear Cancer Support. And the first one was called Mama Bear Life Coach. And then it was Donita Mama Bear Cancer Support. And I realized the weirdest thing, which brought me to this company. I realized that when I was putting all that energy towards the cancer recovery, the cancer, I kept getting cancer. It kept coming back. And I thought, you know what? No wonder there's not a very big support situation. And a lot of people that haven't had cancer think, oh, there's tons of support. But at the end of the day, there's really not. There's like runs and races and, and I'm not putting down any of that at all. Yeah. I'm just saying that is not necessarily a giant support when don't know if you should be throwing up or not throwing up, if your hair is falling out in weird ways, if fingernails are falling off, like all these things. So one day I was like, hold on, this isn't working. So I just closed. Well, it kind of happened to coincide with the pandemic, so it worked out for me. But I was just like, yeah, no, I'm done. And ever since then, it's so weird. I feel so weird about it. Like, it's like I want to support and be there, but I kept bringing the energy back, and that kept rattling around in my head for like 3 years. And finally I was like, patterns, energy comes back. Something's going on. And then I have no idea how this happened. Just one day I was like, yeah, I'm a therapist with a twist. Like, that's it. I had been practicing for this for years and years and years and years. And, just finally put it all together. So that's where I am. I'm putting it all together. I have clients. I love my clients, and I invest in them. They invest in me, and together we remove the energy from them that's not working. And I do that based on patterns.
So talk a little bit about maybe a couple of patterns, example of what that could look like for someone.
Okay. I do it with the Saturn returns, which is, it gets a little woo woo up in here for a minute. I have Saturn returns. So when you're born, the planet Saturn is in a particular place, and every 7 years it kind of comes back to that place. And in those 0 to 7 years, a lot happens. Like, think about, you're 0 to 7 years old. You learn how to walk, you learn how to talk, you learn how to eat, you learn you have teeth, you learn you have fingers, you learn that you live in a family, you learn that you go to school, that you live in a house, in a community, and there's cars, you learn about transportation, you learn about everything. You also learn that there's other people that can use words to hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. And your little throat chakra is not quite fully developed yet. That's where you speak your truth. And so a lot of people aren't able to speak their truth during the 0 to 7 years for obvious reasons, language barrier being one of them. You bury, so if your cell is like a little square, we'll just go with that, because biologically I'm not 100% sure what a cell looks like. I think it's kind of squarish, but not 100%. And you know the weights at the gym that like stack up like this, and you can put the little pin in and you can choose which one. So imagine your energy is stacked like that inside your cell. Okay. And imagine that you want it, and it's by 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to 28, 28 to 35, 35 to 42, 42 to 49. So it goes all the way up to 70. So you've stacked all this energy. Some of it is great. It's the memories that you pull on. You're like, oh, I remember that time I went with Granny to the grocery store and I got a donut and that was so cool, or remember that time my friend stole my bike and told me I was ugly, like things like that. You store all of that. But as a 0 to 7-year-old, you don't really express yourself. Like, God love the kids that do, but there's a lot that don't. So that gets just buried in that cell. And so fast forward, 7 age groups, you're 49, and you've got all this stacked energy from all this life experiences, good and bad. Well, they don't sort themselves. They're like, oh, good. It's not like a wedding, one side. They just stack, So if you go in there and how you recognize that is you go to believe in yourself and, oh, you don't. Or you go to start a project and it just sits on your desk after the fun part is over. Or you get a divorce, or you don't have a relationship with your children or somebody in your family or a friend. You lose you don't have your best friend anymore for a variety of reasons. You get diseased. The biggest one is you get diseased. If it's stacked in there, how can the little cell do its job when we've proven that energy exists. Like, that's long since been proven. But if that's not where your thoughts go, that I'm probably not your person, but that the cells, if they're full of all this energy, good or bad, they're not their full original cell, which is like technically the definition of cancer. So it's just an altered cell. So we go in there and we pull it out. I could do it for you, and I will do it for you. It's going to cost you a lot more, but I can do it. Or I can teach you how to fish instead of giving you the fish. I can say, here's how you do it. You do it on your time, your frame. And so when we start with the 0 to 7, was a very long answer to that question. I can recognize when that's my job as an intuitive. I can recognize things that you're stopping blocks. I can see what cells are full and why they're full. And so I can gently guide you in the direction by just starting with 0 to 7. And I'll say, okay, we do a couple of things. I give all my clients a little manipulatives bag. That's the first grade teacher in me. And it's too far away for me to grab. But I include, fun things. Like I have, I'll put in a selenite wand with the chakra stones. So, that's in their kit. Essential oils to go along with everything, all the chakras, because I'm going to teach you about your Saturn returns and I'm going to teach you about your chakras. So
powerful. I have goosebumps. I love it.
Love talking to you.
It was little over a year ago, we learned about selenite in and of itself. And
Mhm.
it really, like the energy clearing of that, like when
It's
we've
incredible.
been doing Zooms all day, like, whew.
To be able to reset our energy.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll do.
It's
Yes,
funny because when you did that, it's like I could feel it.
Me too.
yeah. And it's, I don't have like, my job is not to convince you there's energy in yourselves. Like you either do or don't believe that. And if you
Right.
want to do something with that, and a lot of people say, well, I had a beautiful childhood, I have nothing to say. I'm like, okay, write what you're grateful for. That counts too.
Yeah.
You know, and then inevitably something comes up. People are like, oh yeah, I did forget about this one time that my friend told me I was, you know, my outfit didn't match and I was really sad. So I teach them how to pull it out, and then I go behind and I do an energetic work. That's kind of like a class situation, and part of included in that is texting and me doing the energetic work. And like I said, if that's not your goal to learn how to do that and you would just rather have me do it, I can do that too. Just go in there and remove it. It takes like 6 weeks. So it takes a while. It's just better if you go through the program and you understand. But then the other side of that is that I have clients that are straight up just talk therapy. And how I use the patterns there is I can hear voice patterns, and I can hear like when your voice drops a little bit or when your voice and I'm like, oh wait, that doesn't add up to what you said. Like, I'm not calling them a liar, I'm just saying what they might leave out a piece of information that I can pick up on intuitively. And then I say, like, I'll have a client say, she's a realtor, and she'll say, what's going on with the energy in that house? I'm like, oh well, let's sage it, let's put some rose quartz crystals in the corner, and then let's wrap up the owner. She's a little sad to leave her house, and that energy is in the house. So when people come in to buy it, they're like, no, thank you. So, you know, I do all sorts of things. I do that. And then I have clients who are straight up talk therapy. But I love that I can use the energy, because they'll say, well, what do you think that is? And I'll say, well, the energy reads this. And it's usually like, oh, you know, it's just that one little tiny thing. And I'm frustrated in that I took so long to figure out my gift, but I'm also so happy that the people that we share energy, they're cleansing and going, and I'm seeing them rise up. And it's our job, right? To be on the planet together. We all are one at the end of the day. It's all about love. It's all about companionship. It's all about compassion. How do you get those things? Well, you can't be your best self. You can't be passionate if you've got a bunch of stacked negative energy in you that you haven't let go of.
Yeah.
And even sorry.
I love that you take the guilt and shame out of it. You know, you don't put it on yourself or on them. You're like, the energy reads this.
Oh no. Yeah. No, there is none. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
There's should be no guilt and shame.
no.
I don't know why we continue to punish ourselves for things that happened way back when, right?
Well, and I like that it's like, it can be something that's stacked up that we think,
Mhm.
well, no, that's not a big deal. But in the moment, if you didn't know how to process that,
It's a big
just
deal.
stored, right? It
Mhm.
just
Yep.
stores in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just
So-
stores.
So, you know, everyone has something.
Well, and two, like, imagine that the more weight that goes on top of it,
Yeah.
the more it gets angry, and
Yeah.
it comes to, like, you know, so like midlife crisis makes total sense if you think about it. You have
Yeah.
got 49 years of stacked energy that hasn't been cleared. I mean, holy cow, you should fall apart. You know, like, you should question stuff, you know. Your body is literally like a ticking time bomb. I mean, think about the people and it actually can really affect your health. You can have a stroke, you can have a heart attack, you can have high blood pressure. You know, high blood pressure is a big one because it's that literal pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
The literal, because that's the reaction your body is having to it, the
Uh-huh.
energy.
yeah, it just absolutely can take you out. I mean, look at me, I had cancer 5 times.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's funny because the root chakra, the 0 to 7, is associated with the root chakra, your foundation, your base. That is also, I just forgot what I was going to say. Hold on. So the root chakra is your health. right? So if you haven't cleared out your root chakra and you're having cancer, or you're having high diabetes, or you're having autoimmune, or you're having any of these things that a lot of people in their 40s and 50s get, well, your health is the first thing to go. And then you go up the chakras, you start your root 0 to 7, 7 to 14 is your sacral. You're going to look at some of that thing, and then it just keeps on going up. And then what my teacher, Susan Corso, she taught me that there's an 8th chakra, the thymus chakra, and it kind of sits out here, and it really is a culminating of everything. And it's in all the other, I mean, there's like millions of chakras we don't talk about, but just we just basically hit like primary school. Like this is the 6, I mean the 7, but there's actually 8. So I just love that education. And, if somebody can get just the tiniest tidbit of something that gets them through, I mean, isn't that why we have friends? Isn't that why we are in relationships, so that we can get through the things by ourselves, just sharing that. And again, like I said, everything goes back to our one connection. There's one planet, apparently a few universes, but like we're in this together. And then I feel if you can remove that energy, that you maybe get like a more realistic conversation with people, because they're not coming from a place of hurt or coming from a place of dense energy. And I don't like to say like negative or bad energy, although those are the words that are necessary. I like to say dense, because it's not dark. There's a difference.
There's
dark energy is
difference,
dark.
yeah.
Dark.
No, we like to say hurting people hurt people. So,
right.
And if you
Yes.
don't even know that you're hurting people without
100%.
personal knowledge of it, because so it may not even be your intent.
Right. So, it's just, it makes so much sense that you could be able to, you can't just remove, just like if you have had like something on your body for a long time, it's super like, attached. So is the energy. It doesn't want to necessarily move out. It's like, oh no, I'm very comfortable. I've lived here a very long time. I don't want to go. And then you have a void. You don't have anything in that energy. So you got to fill it up with something. You got to fill it up with, all your intentions, your manifestations, your positive thoughts.
That makes sense why when we make a breakthrough, there's usually a depression after.
Oh yeah. It's a little bit of a hole.
Yeah. It's a hole.
Mm-hmm. So you have to intentionally fill it back up, because a cell is not altered with love, compassion, kindness, energy. It's altered with dense, negative, hurtful energy. So yeah, it seems easy, right? It seems like, oh sure, I should be able to do that. But you have to catch your thoughts. Like once we clean it out, I'll send reminder texts and be like very positive and upbeat, like, hello, how are you today? Beautiful. I hope your day is going, well. And I like to see, I send a little bottle of sage to clear the room. And, I'll send a little bracelet with the lava stones on it. So you can put the little essential oils on there when you're working on one particular chakra, and it's your timeline. I don't dictate that, just like therapy, you come when you want to, and I'm here.
That's cool.
That's excellent.
It's very exciting.
I know.
It's nice to be able to talk with you about your work in this way. It's like deeper than just, the on the surface conversations of this is what I do and, this is who I am. It's like you get deeper.
I have a hard time at like networking stuff and things like that, because I'm like, yeah, no, like it's a little level, like I'm a deep person. I'm a Scorpio, like what do you want? I'm like, I'm just a deep person, period. So, but it really puts people off. They're like, don't tell me how I am. I don't want to know that. I'll know that on my own time.
So, they're not ready for you to.
I have to be careful.
Excellent.
And if you're walking into a network meeting where you don't know anybody, you don't know how talking about an energy exchange would be. So you have to kind of like feel it out and intuitively, how much do I share about what I do?
And that
before somebody experiences it, so that they stay open to it.
that is one of my skill sets. I can kind of, so I was a good teacher too, because I can tell like what's actually really going on. Oh my gosh, when we were taking care of my mother-in-law, she was passing when she had cancer, and I would say, I'm so sorry, your hip hurts, and she's like, how do you know my hip hurts? I'm like, oh, I don't know, I was just guessing. She's like, you always know, because she didn't want to say anything hurt. She's very Southern. She didn't want to say anything hurt, so she'd be like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay.
But you can hear the pain in their voice.
I
Even
can
if
just
you
see
just
it.
hear, I mean, you can see
Mhm.
it. I guess
Oh,
maybe
true
it's
story.
one of my things too, right?
Yeah.
Like that I can hear it in someone's
You notice the
voice.
grunt and the limp and the
Yeah.
I'm not quite moving.
Right. Something's a little
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And then you like, yeah, you put it together and you can see.
I will say one of the biggest struggles as a businesswoman owner, or I guess business owner in the energy field, is that you do have this label of being woo woo, and a little bit because I don't have because there's not a scientific degree to follow that. It's a little like, well, maybe not. But then I thought, you know what? That's part of the education, like you believe doctors because they go in. I mean, think about what doctors do. They have a knowledge base. They go in, they literally cut open your body and do stuff. And you just trust them to do that, right? Because it's been done 100 times. What if we had documented energy that way? I mean, it was, right, with the Egyptians, and it was documented, but it through society, it's sometimes abstractness really takes people off guard. So I find that frustrating.
My husband was talking to me about articles coming out about metaphysics and neuroscience and energy work, like they're able to track it with machines and stuff now, and it's actually fascinating. So if you are interested in what's going on in the quantum physics world,
oh gosh,
go Google it. It's cool.
I do. I believe it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've lived in parts of not everywhere is, in the Seattle area, people are pretty open-minded. And I've lived on the East Coast, I've lived in the South, I've lived in Central, I've lived, on the West Coast. I will say it's very welcoming on the West Coast. But there's a room for growth in some other areas of the United States. And I'm not being critical of the United States. Everybody lives where they're most comfortable, but there are some areas for growth.
Yeah, and even here, there's still lots of areas for growth.
I love that. There's lots of things that need to be healed generationally.
Oh yeah.
And so by taking these steps to break our own patterns, we're actually healing past generation stuff.
Oh sure. I
So
mean,
that's a whole conversation we can also have.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I guess the most documented energy in cell retention is the Holocaust victims and how it got passed down to generation.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't.
Not that that's
subject.
Good, but...
So you don't really want to bring that up, but it is actually one of some of the documented energy transfer things out there.
Right.
That's again fascinating. I'm really interested. I always want to learn more. Right.
That's my favorite kind of people.
Yeah. And this is just one of those things. It's like, that's really cool. I want to learn more, But Donita, thank you for bringing your heart and your teacher brain and teaching us a few things today and sharing with us about pattern breaking and what that might look like and all the wonderful, amazing things that you do and how you work with people.
Well, thank you. Well, I would like to give a shout out to you guys. I work with you guys behind the scenes, and it's amazing. I was stressing out so bad about something the other day, and Heather just read my mind and sent it to me. I was like, oh, thank you. It's wonderful. That was great. And it's easy to work with people that when you come from an energetic field, that it's easy to connect and work, because you can tell immediately if it's a match or not. You're like, oh yeah. And I always tell people too, just because if I'm a 110 and you're a 220 and we don't match, that's okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to match. So I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Try not to cry. Thank you so much. We want everyone to stay tuned for a message from our cost of the quarter, and they have a gala coming up. So make sure
March 25th, I think.
check that out on the website.
Now that we're good. See you later.
Namaste. Mwah.
And now networking. We help these young women transition from high school into college. And ours is a unique program because we are helping them each year of college till they get that bachelor's degree or go into their chosen career. And so that mentorship goes on through college and actually after college, because what we have is we have 2 phases in our program. And that first one is getting them through high school to college to their career. And once they're in their career, they're a now member forever with a free membership. And we have mentors in place, business coaches that help them to learn the essential skills to run an effective business. And so the mentoring goes on, the relationship goes on, and I'm sure that they will eventually also be mentors to the new kids coming into our program.
We take the mystery and pain out of social media consistency for your business, giving you back time to shine in your zone of genius. Social media is the new branding. It deserves its own attention, thought, and effort. Yet so few businesses actually take this seriously and invest enough time on their strategy. We can do it for you at an affordable rate that will fit into your budget and allow you to pursue other revenue channels as well. The hardest part of social media management is keeping up the consistency to be seen and know what to post, when to post. Are you ready to have everything ready to go for you, saving you time and energy by not having to do it all yourself? Still getting your message out so that people get to know you, like you, and develop trust while opening yourself up to more time for the business of your business where you shine. Working with Women in Leadership, BSMB LLP, is a unique experience that bridges the gap from face-to-face to virtual relationship marketing. Not only do we love to help you shine on social media, we love to share tools to help you grow with us, body, soul, mind, and business. Check out our podcast and YouTube channel for Mindset Mondays, Social Media Training Wednesdays, business interviews and special topics on Fridays, and weekly readings on Sundays. To schedule your consultation or podcast interview, head to our website, www.womeninleadershipbsmb.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get our weekly readings on Sunday, our podcast, Mindset Monday, Social Media Training with Heather on Wednesdays with a live Q&A, and guest interviews and special topics on Fridays. Thank you for joining us. Find out more and schedule with us online at www.womeninleadershipbsmb.com, where you have a spot at the table. Thank you for joining in on the fun. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.